Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good day to you, whoever you are and wherever you are. I'm Oliver Perry, and today I have the distinct pleasure of having a guest that I've been looking forward to. He is a Marine, a real estate investor. He's also a coach, and surprisingly, a mentor that people don't realize he's actually mentoring them. He specializes in all kinds of stuff, anything finance and real estate. The guy has probably done it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. David Pere. David,
Thanks for having me, brother.
brother, thank you for coming on. And I forgot to mention military, from military to millionaire. Check him out on YouTube. I promise you, you will not regret it. But yeah, man, I wanted to jump into it. I'm so happy you came on. I'm excited, as you could tell. I wanted to talk to you just in regards to all the stuff you're doing, and you do so much content and you push so hard online that I don't think people really appreciate how difficult that really is and what it takes to do that. So I wanted, of course, give you the floor so you can put your stuff out there. Granted, if they really want to know more about you, they need to go from military to millionaire. A second plug within like a 3 minute time span. I'm on it. So I'm, I'm gonna
Take it.
let you. I'm gonna let you go for it. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, man, I joined the Marine Corps. I've been in like 12 and a half years. And in 2015, I read a book, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Changes Too Many People's Lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, real estate sounds awesome. I'm going to buy a house. And then that's what I did. Like within 3 or 4 months, I bought a duplex. I lived in one half, I rented the other half. And then I just kept reading and learning about real estate and finance. And
Look back. Oh, David, look like you got stuck. Uh oh. So David got stuck. Okay, we'll take it from you were talking about. Wait, let me get in here. There he is. All right, you were
yeah,
talking about how you were in the Marines, and you were giving the breakdown on you. So we'll start from there, and what I'll do is I'll just cut the link. I'll fix it in post and figure that out.
easy day.
All right, go for it.
Yeah, so I joined the Marine Corps. I've been in for 12 and a half years, and in 2015, I decided I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, which has changed a lot of lives, and
Absolutely.
I decided I was going to buy a house. So that's what I did. About 3, 4 months later, I bought a duplex. I lived in one half, rented the other half, and let my tenant cover a good portion of my rent. They call it house hacking now. And then I was kind of hooked. It was like, wow, this is awesome. I'm going to read some more books. I'm going to buy some, like, I'm going to go look into all this. Um, and I really got serious about finances and real estate and
Mm-hmm.
everything else. And in the last 5 years, I mean, I currently own 20 units that I'm either single or like 50-50 partner on. And then I'm a partner on a 146 unit syndication. I own small ownership percentage. Um, and then I've done some other stuff. I flipped some stuff. I've wholesaled some stuff. I did a big purchase that it was like a lease option. I didn't execute the option. So,
Right.
done a little bit of everything on
Nice.
that end. And then I'm still a big fan of like the thrift savings plan. I put 25% of my paycheck into that, and yeah, became a command financial specialist. And somewhere along the journey, I started blogging, just kind of writing out what I was doing, telling people like, oh yeah, this is what I'm learning about today. And the name From Military to Millionaire was catchy enough that it grew, and then it
Right.
kind of kept growing. And now
It's still
it's
growing.
a pretty big platform. Yeah,
Right.
I'm actually going to be transitioning into the reserves here in a few months. That's the plan, and I'm going to take it full time and see what happens.
Wow. All right. So I know you talked about that recently. You talked about that in one of your YouTube videos, I want to say.
Yep.
And this isn't even on my questions list, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. That whole realization and that thought process, how'd that go for you? Because that's a in all truth be out there, it's really kind of a nerve wracking thing because you're like, all right, I'm getting out, and I've got to do this reserve piece and what's gonna happen next. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, not an easy decision at all. And it came. I mean, it's still nerve wracking. It's come over the course of a few years,
Mm-hmm.
mentoring with people that are much more successful than me and asking their thoughts, and specifically some guys who are like military experts and finance experts, and like Doug Nordman talking about the pros and cons of the reserves and why he
Right.
wishes he might have gone reserves vice retiring, uh, and and over time it just kind of became the realization that a lot of the people who were saying I needed to stay in the Marine Corps were people that had stayed in the Marine Corps, which is fine, right? But
Right, of
that's what
course.
they did, so of course they like that decision. And a lot of the people who were saying, "No, I think you've got potential, you should get out," were people that I aspired to be, whether that be David Green or Brandon Turner or Doug Nordman, or some of these guys who are much farther along in the real estate and finance world than I am.
Right.
And I realized, like, well, okay, well, who do I want to be in 10 years, right? Do I want to be this guy who's known for real estate investing and had made it on his own and was very successful without the military, or do I want to do the military? And the reality, I think a lot of that, it was a tough decision, but then the more I've been promoted, the less I really enjoy my job. I don't do the fun stuff that I did when I was young. And there's no deployments right now. There's
Mm,
no training. There's no,
right.
I'm not the office guy. That's not been ever what I wanted out of the Marine Corps. And so
Right.
it's like, okay, well, look, if I'm not getting to travel and enjoy the world, like, might as well go reserves, and I can still do that, but just on my own schedule. Uh, and then as this thing grew, it was like, well, I have an opportunity here, and I either re-enlist and I don't take this opportunity for 4 years, and then at that point I might as well retire, so 7 years,
Hmm.
or I take it right now. And worst case scenario, I try to get back into the Marine Corps if I fail, but I don't foresee that. I think I'm in a position now where my there won't be regrets. It'll just be fun. At least that's
Right.
the hope, right? I'm sure it won't always be fun, but hey, you know,
No, man. Even in the suck, it's a good time. Those where the
yeah,
best stories come from, all the time, every time. Yeah, man. I understand that. I don't know, man. That the whole thought process. Because I've had that thought with myself before. I'm in right now, right? Army AGR, and that whole thought process come across, and I'm like, you know what? I've been in 16 years. I only got 4 more to go. At this point, it is what it is. But I think that's an awesome decision for you. Congratulations, that's fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next with that. Um, and matter of fact, let's dive into the real estate piece because I know that for you that's a really big thing as well as the financial education. And I wanted to ask you because it's something I've been thinking about lately is how can we as the military, improve our education of our personnel on how to deal with the money, how to deal with really invest in the stuff that we have benefits for, because I think that's something that is a value add. It just has to, from our side coming out, it's great. But I'd like to see it from the military side, them teaching us as well. I was curious what your thoughts on that and how they can implement some things that might be able to help us out. David, oh, hell. I got stuck again. I'm just gonna let it record this time, and I'll just cut it at cut. David. Wait,
it's funny because I freeze, but I can hear you perfectly.
really?
I
I
don't know what.
Man, when I stopped. I stopped. I was like, oh, that must have been a bad question. Then I look, and you're stuck. I was like, oh shoot.
The whole thing, I go, well, first things first. I'm apparently frozen again. Can you hear me? And then,
This is
you want me to just
amazing.
I can just pick it up from the question itself, so
Yeah,
we can.
yeah. Let's go. Go for it.
Yeah. Uh, it's a good question, and I mean, obviously, there's the outlook that like the military is not there to teach. Like their main goal is not to teach finances and help you get wealthy, right? Like it's in their best
Very
interest to
true.
have you be well balanced and whatnot, but um, it's not necessarily there to make you a millionaire so that you leave. But
Right.
I think there's some definite things there that the military could do better. I mean, one thing is the VA loan, right? Like there's there's not as much guidance on the VA loan as I would expect in the military, right? And I think the VA loan is huge. You can absolutely be very, very, very successful with the VA loan, especially if you buy like a fourplex, you live in one unit, you rent the other three, they cover your mortgage. Like you can do some really cool things with that loan.
Right.
And it seems like a lot of veterans have to go, outside. I mean, there are classes, but you got to seek them out, right? And so I would love to see that be more of a, maybe not like an annual thing, but maybe like a, hey, you're going to be receiving BAH now because you got married or you got promoted. Like,
Right.
here's a 3 hour class or a 1 hour class on the VA loan so that if you want to use it, you have a little bit of an understanding, and not from an institution, because that's the reason they don't teach it so much, is they don't want lenders coming in talking and trying to get business, right? They want they don't want that kind of solicitation. So I think maybe if it was just like an education center, like, hey, once a week we host this 1 or 2 hour thing on the VA loan. Here's
Mm-hmm.
everything you can and can't do with it. And it's not hosted by a lender. It's just hosted by someone who's, third party knowledgeable or whatever. And they
Right.
say, you want BAH? Great. Here you go. Take this class first. The thrift savings plan with the blended retirement system, they've gotten much better about teaching the ins and outs of the TSP. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's improving. And I think other than that, basic stuff is, one of the running jokes in the military, right? Cars, Mustangs, Chargers, interest rates. So they do okay with that, but they do a good job of seeming to catch it when it's too late. So I wish they'd
Right.
do a little bit better job of like the new join brief covering car buying, and then having someone on base that people can go to the education center on base and talk to the budget counselor or whatever. I just wish we made that more accessible, right? More recommended.
Right.
Like if units were, because it's there, it's open, but units are so focused on work, they don't always say, yeah, like, oh yeah, hey, go do this. Like, it's
Yeah.
a sergeant
Yeah.
or whatever saying, hey, let me counsel you on buying a car, when really they should say, hey, go talk to this lady whose job is counseling you on buying a car, right?
Absolutely.
Which is fine. I mean, NCOs should be able to lead and they should be able to have that conversation, but I just think the training is not, as prevalent. So it's kind of hand me down information that may or may not be so great.
No, you're telling nothing but the truth, man. Because those education centers, I think, are probably where that link is in my opinion. Because they're there on base, and we just like I was on, I want to say Fort Knox. Man, it took me a week to figure out where the heck the building was. Like I could not, and I
Yeah.
passed it like 70 times. Now that could be because I didn't have a map and an azimuth and a protractor, but GPS didn't exactly do me any favors either. So if it had been promoted, that'd have been a little bit better. It'd been a little bit easier to
Yeah.
find, and it's not necessarily bad, but it's just something I'm sure we're gonna have to figure out later on down the line. If and when it happens. But that's what we
Yeah,
got.
absolutely.
People like you. You got from military to millionaire out there that's really educating people, which is the best part of it to me. So with that in mind, I wanted to ask you. So we'll get a little bit more into the real estate. So you once talked about in a video, I want to say about a year ago, and I've always been curious about this. So it's a little bit selfish for those of you listening and watching. I'm watching acting for myself. So you had a situation with a 40 unit, and I'm not sure you can talk about it, where you had a lawsuit and some legal stuff happen. And you had said in the video, it's a crazy story. I've been waiting to hear the crazy story. Can you can you tell me about that?
I wish that I could go into full detail.
Okay.
It's such a crazy story that we are now 2 years later, and the court date's still getting pushed to the right now because of COVID.
Holy
But
cow! Yeah.
so the jury date was supposed to be next month, like in 3 weeks.
David, you froze again, bro. Go ahead, hang up, D, and then call me back. We'll do it again. No worries.
Be the most painful thing you've ever had to edit.
Bro, I'm looking at my I'm looking at my iPad. I'm like, cut 5 minutes and 30 seconds. Cut
I
this
wonder.
time.
I wonder if, like, what's the internet like at your? You said you're at your mom's.
Yeah.
I wonder. I
So
wonder if somebody's like getting on YouTube and sucking up the bandwidth.
at this point, I don't know, man.
It's all good. It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I'm praying to God it's not my side. But it's you work
Doesn't
with what
matter
you
either way.
got. Yeah,
I got
like
it, man. It's all good.
the foxhole has been dug, my friend. We're just gonna go ahead and lay down.
Hey, I don't care at all. This is good. Let me just make sure I got my bearing here.
We were talking about the 40 unit, and you
Yes.
said you were talking about how crazy the whole process has been, and that you can't
Mhm.
talk about it right now, which is still hilarious. It's still
Yeah.
hilarious.
So
Such a crazy situation.
unfortunately, I can't talk about that as much as I would like to. So the court date was supposed to be in July, and then COVID
Right.
pushed it to November, and then COVID pushed it to February, and then now it
Jesus.
looks like it might get pushed again for the jury date. But long story short, bought this thing as a 40 unit mixed use, like 20 residential or like 25 residential units and
Mm-hmm.
15 retail commercial units on a lease option. So we took control with the intent of we got 5 years to execute the option and take the mortgage. We control the asset. And I mean, basically, what we're doing right now is we unfortunately had to file a lawsuit to say we want our money back because the other end of the contract wasn't upheld. Is what
Right.
what we're saying, right? And I
Right.
can't go super into detail on that just because it's still in court process. So, there's
Of
always the
course.
chance that I say something that they decide isn't true and then I look like a jerk. But
Right.
there were some pretty clear cut things like the contract said, hey, roof needs to be replaced within 90 days or $100,000 goes to the buyer. And 90 days came and went, no money, no roof.
Right.
Four units that were under construction for Airbnb. They were supposed to be done within 45 days of closing and they weren't.
Mm.
Um, and they weren't even at 4 months later when I terminated the deal.
Right.
Some other things like HVAC supposed to be moved up to the second floor or the roof, and it wasn't. And I mean the crazy story is a lot of the stuff that is more controversial, but there were some people in play that were. I don't want to use the word sabotaging, but there were some things that seemed fairly intentionally unethical. So,
Right. Fair enough.
it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, the basic long story short is this, right? Like, I should have used my property management, my
Right.
personal team. I should have never. I used theirs for like the first few weeks, and then I had to let them go. And I should have just brought my team in right away. I would have noticed some issues, and I should have done a better job of documenting. We would do phone calls to negotiate, and I wish that I had
Mm.
followed every phone call with an email saying, "This is what we discussed. Please respond agreeing." Because
Right.
there are not a whole lot, but there are some things where it's a kind of a he said, she said, where we came to an agreement on something on the contract,
Right.
and it didn't make it onto the contract, and the back and forth. But for the most part, it's pretty clear cut, and I've got pretty good documentation between stacks of emails and text messages. And I did my deposition 2 weeks ago, where I got interrogated by the other attorney, and actually a whole lot of fun for me. I don't know what's
Right. I
wrong
was
with
about to
me, but
say.
I was loving it. It was like 4.5 hours. It was the most exhausting. Like I got done, and it was like 11:30 in the morning, and I was like, I want to go to sleep. I'm
Right.
done. Like the whole day. But it was fun in its own messed up way, where it's like, oh, that's the question. Yeah, here's the answer. Oh,
Right.
well, that's kind of a tricky question. Well, here's a thing. Let me share my screen. Boom, there's the answer.
Right.
Um, so interesting process. I'm learning a ton, right? Yet to just see if we're going to end up getting our money back. I hope so, because the partner and I are about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years salary deep
Mm.
into this thing, and I'd like to see some of that
Jesus.
again. So,
Right.
we'll
Yikes.
see what happens, I guess, right?
Well, I mean, the cool thing though is, and this is the optimist in me, is you are conquering something that almost every person fears in real estate itself, is that lawsuit. And the thing that people, and I've been told this by a mentor of mine, he was like, when you get to the point where you have enough money, just know you're gonna get sued. He said you're gonna have some legal issue, some legal battle. No matter what you do, no matter how you cut that pie, it's gonna happen. Just know it's
Yep.
coming and be okay with it, right? And I think that you're going through it now. It gives you a leg up because now you know, hey, these certain processes I was missing, I got to fill in that blank. And of course, the best thing is that the audience, myself and all the others from the military, from military to millionaire, as for family, we get to see that growth in you, and we get to see that process because you're gonna talk about it, almost guaranteed. That's just how you are. You've always been transparent. So, yeah, I mean, it sucks. Don't get me wrong, but I'm trying to see the bright side, the silver lining, if you will. Um, so, damn it. Cut 17.
Oh, it's too good. It's too good.
Okay.
All right,
Okay.
heard all your
Jesus
comments.
Christ.
No.
Right? I listen. It's not gonna be too bad that time because I can cut it. Right? I can just cut it right when I realize that you were gone. Oh man. All
Super.
right. I don't know
In
what's
the
going
end,
on.
where it's like, I don't know. I changed the backdrop to the dark theme instead of the light theme, so we'll see if that changes anything.
Okay.
I don't think it
All
will.
right. Ooh, speaking of backdrops,
Uh-oh.
something. No, nothing bad. Nothing bad. This,
All right. Okay.
something that
I'm
I
good.
realized just in watching you is that like probably the best thing about you and your content to me has been that you're relatively consistent, right? You've had the black background in the back for the better part of what you've done with the internet and the YouTubes and all this great stuff, but you've also evolved. I wanted to ask you, what has that process been like from starting the YouTube channel, starting podcasting, starting blogging to now, and how have you evolved in that space?
Well, for one, I started my first video was filmed in a closet, so that's an evolve. That was terrible. I mean, there's obviously been equipment evolutions,
Right,
right?
of
Like I went
course.
from a single ring light with a crappy camera in the middle of it to a fairly nice camera with a quality lens, and I've got one light, two light, three light, key light, fill light, and overhead.
Right.
I've got a quality microphone now, so like obviously the equipment's improved over time, which is not necessarily because I'm making a ton of money so much as that I'm dumping money into a hobby that will eventually pay itself back. And it has now. I mean, I make a couple $100 a month on YouTube, and that'll grow over time. So it's
Nice.
finally starting to pay for the gear slowly, which is good. But I mean, that's the one thing. I mean, the first, I guess I had an office in Hawaii, and so I went from
Mm.
tile floors, bad angle, poor lighting, and like mattresses stuffed up around the room to try to soundproof to now I'm in a carpeted office, is a little bit smaller actually, but a little bit bigger angle, a little bit more permanent office with
Mm.
the black paper back over there and stuff. But what I'm really looking forward to in the evolution is my next, wherever I end up, where I can do two or three different setups, like a standing, a sitting, more
Ooh.
aesthetic desk. I look to do like trying to find a place that has like the real old school brick wall because I really like the
Right.
brick walls. If I can't find that, then I will. There's this paneling at Lowe's that looks like authentic brick, and my buddy just used it for his gym, and I like you
Love
couldn't
it.
tell it's not a brick wall. So it's
That's
like
awesome.
textured and everything. So um, I may do that, but yeah, the hope is to have like a standing and a seated and then like a legitimate podcast studio setup. So we'll see kind of what that turns into and how that looks. But the evolution has just been kind of over time. I'm not the best with design, so
Mm.
a lot of it is feedback from other people. I mean, Alex Felice helped me pick out all the angles for lighting and stuff. So
Nice.
a lot of it is just over time, but getting there.
Yeah, I mean it's a slow grind, man. It's a slow grind. I do like the fact that, like I said, and I'll continue to say, that authenticity with you is probably the best part about you and the podcast and the show. Um, as a matter of fact, there was one time you were talking on a video. You talked about the morning routine, and this was, I want to say, 2 years back. You could tell I did a lot of watching the videos, but it was a couple years
We saw some
back.
of my worst ones.
No, man, like these are the golden ones to me, right? Because we all, what's crazy is there's so many people who are afraid to do things like YouTube and Facebook groups and IG or whatever else, and don't realize just doing is half of the battle.
Yeah.
And you've always struck me as a guy who just goes. You go, you slam into a wall, you figure it out, you get up and you slam into the next wall. And I find myself doing the same thing. I think I hit walls a little bit harder because I'm running like I'm full pace. Bam! Oh, I need help. I can't do any of this stuff. Like I'm learning that with podcasts. Podcasting
I
takes a
felt that
lot
with
of
freaking
work,
airplane.
right? But you don't realize it until you slam into that wall. So you did talk again. Going back to it. Sorry, I digressed. So
No,
you talked about the morning routine. How has your morning routine changed from when you started to now? Because I think that's really important.
well, I sleep in now. I was waking up at 4 every morning, and now I
Love it.
wake up at about 4:30. So
Okay.
that's big shift. And then I allow myself to sleep in till like 6 on the weekends. So it's pretty crazy.
Nice.
Um, and the reason for that shift is
Froze up, David. So, man, let's talk. Let's talk about the books you read. Like, what kind of
Okay.
books have you read that were like outside of Rich Dad Poor Dad? Because that's the easy one, right? That's the one everybody
It's
has.
the go-to. Yeah, it's right up
Right.
there behind me somewhere.
Exactly. Yeah, it's on my bookshelf somewhere. I've got that in the cash
I
flow
can't figure
quadrant.
out this pointing thing backwards. There we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, right there, right
It's
beside the
yeah,
flag.
that one.
Nice. Nice. But yeah, man, what kind of books are you reading right now?
The book I'm currently reading is called Essentialism,
Okay.
which is basically just about do better with less type theory. Like I just kind of declutter your life.
Okay.
Um, some other, let's see, what else have I read recently? The Traction by Gino
Ooh, that's a
Wickman, which
really
is
good one. Yeah. That one's
yeah,
that
trying
one's
to
so good it's scary. Like I've read and I think I talked about this on another episode before, but that one I read with my team and like we're still like 3 months into it and we're like, yo, we gotta go back and do it again because we missed
yeah,
something.
I've read
That
it
thing is crazy. That's an
twice
amazing
now
book.
and done half the exercises in the book, working my way through them. So
Nice.
yeah, it's a good
Nice.
one.
Do you feel like it's actually affected it affected what were you doing as far as business is concerned?
Yeah, if nothing else, the like the vision piece has really helped me hone some of my goals for the next couple of years. So, if nothing else, just that vision and clarity piece was worth the whole read.
Nice. Was that so? That was the. I guess that my guess is that was the biggest thing for you when you read it. Was that
Absolutely,
whole
yeah,
change? True.
yeah.
True. 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 Okay. All right. So everybody asks, what from the military did you take into real estate? I want to know what from the real estate that you took into your military career.
Efficiency.
Ooh.
So, and
Okay.
that's one of the other books up there is the 4 Hour Work Week. That's another one that I love. I've read that one 2 or 3 times. The military, and not the military, but really just W-2, like salary jobs in
Yeah.
general.
Absolutely.
People get into the mentality of how can I continue to be employed and do the least amount of work possible, right? Like how can I make
Right.
it to the end of the day without
Right.
getting in trouble? How can I, people drag things out intentionally or unintentionally to get stuff done,
Of
and
course.
then they fill the whole workday, and then they're like, okay, next day, like I didn't get fired, woo. Um, if you want to be an entrepreneur or build a
Mm-hmm.
business or be successful, right? Like you got to figure out how to use your time. So the 4 Hour Work Week was the first book of several now that I've read about efficiency, and it really kind of helped me shift my mindset from how can I get to the end of the day and go home to how can I get the most crap done in this amount of time. Now, I'm not sitting at work at the Marine Corps like running around.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my god, it froze again. David, oh, what? Yo, I can't believe it's doing it again. I can't hear you. Say again?
I said, has this happened with anyone else?
No. I like,
Weird. I've
I've,
never had this happen when recording. Like I mean, I've got, I don't know. Let me make sure my internet's not crazy today. But let's see. Run a speed test here.
roger
Uh,
that. I'll do the
yeah,
same on
I'm
my end.
currently rolling at. Hang on, wait for it. Ooh, ooh, 625 megabits per second. It ain't my internet, that's for sure.
All right, hold
That's
on. Let's see. I'm at, I'm
yeah,
at 90, 97, 90, yeah, 97, 98
and that's
megabits per
still above
second.
average. So that's so weird. Oh man. All right. Well, we're just gonna have to roll and hope it doesn't happen anymore. I
Yeah,
suppose
man. You know what? We're just gonna
you're gonna have,
record and just say, forget it. It is what it is.
you're gonna
If
have too
all
much
else
fun editing
fails,
this.
yeah, I'll have to schedule a flight out to to Florida out there, and we just do it live. That might
There we
be,
go. There we go.
that might be the way. I could use it as a write off
I
anyway.
like it.
Uh,
I
all right. So
like
you were
it.
talking about how you use your efficiency part, right, to the military side of the house. You were going into it. You were
Yeah. So
saying,
yeah. So the difference between the 4 hour work week mentality is in the military, a lot of people think like, how can I fill this day and go home?
Right.
And the 4-hour work week mentality is how can I use these hours to be, the most efficient, get the most stuff done in the least amount of time. And so I'm not
Absolutely.
running around the Marine Corps trying to get absolutely everything I could possibly ever get done, right? And like just never sitting down. But what I need to get done for the day, I can get done extremely fast. And
Right.
then I have time left over to get other stuff done. So it's getting those most important things done first thing in the morning and setting up barriers and not just getting stuck doing every single thing that crosses your path, like doing the things that are important, knocking them out of the park, and then you
Right.
have time to do other stuff. So it's made me much more efficient at work, in the Marine Corps, in real estate, and everything else. So I think the mentality of hustling and efficiency has really helped me out with the Marine Corps.
Nice. So, all right. So I got a question. This it's going to be a little bit more in depth, military wise, right? You're an NCO. You are the backbone of the Marine Corps, just like all the NCOs are backbone of the Army, Navy, so on and so forth. What's your advice to those who you not just that you train as far as NCOs, but those officers you train? Because I think that's one thing that's key is that you as the NCO and you guide that new lieutenant and teach him kind of the ways of the warrior, if you will. What's your guidance to them if they to sit down and say, "Hey, I'm looking at investing in real estate." What's your guidance to them specifically?
Uh, Man, that's a good question. So for real estate, I mean, first off, just make sure your finances are in check, right?
Okay.
Put money into your thrift savings plan. Use, save money. Have some cash reserves. Uh, don't go buy the Mustang at 30% interest. Don't go blow money on stupid things all the
Right.
time, right? We've seen it all. We've heard it all. But just know that the sooner you make good financial decisions, the faster they compound, the more easily you'll be able to scale.
Mm-hmm.
And then use your VA loan, right? And I think use your VA loan to house hack is the answer that I would normally tell them, right? And that could be you buy a
Absolutely.
really big single family house and rent bedrooms out. That could be you buy the house hack, like the duplex, triplex, fourplex, and uh, you rent other units out. That could be you buy a place and rent out build a unit in the backyard and rent that out. I mean, all kinds of different options, but that allows you to get your feet wet with landlording, save money every month on what you would have been paying to live in your house. And then you're building that confidence. It's a much easier decision than buying an investment property because you're just buying a house. And there's just so many benefits to the idea of using your VA loan to house hack. I mean, that's just a very powerful way to get started. So that's usually my go-to, and then from there you'll kind of know what you prefer to do. Whether you want to be a buy and hold guy or
Right.
house flipper or whatever, and then focus on that strategy and learn that strategy and go from there.
Yeah, I think that's solid advice because I wish I had somebody that told me that before I tried to flip a house. Let me not lie. I didn't try. I did. It just crashed and burned really hard.
Been there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I tell you what. That's probably the best way. I feel like with anybody I talk to, I kind of tell them the same thing. Hey, listen, just go, just do something, because you're gonna know like left or right. You're gonna figure out in therein what to do next. Um, yeah, I figured out. I'm not gonna get the 625 doors flipping houses. This is just not gonna work. It's not happening.
Nope.
Um, so yeah. So what's your vice, David? Like we all have something like that. Oh, David, did you freeze again? This blooper reel is gonna be amazing. Uh, where is he at? Where'd he go? I can't. Where's my mouse? All right, so me and David are having technical issues. We have zero clue what's going on. It's not his side. It's not my side. You know what? You know what? It is my side. I'm going to take responsibility. Extreme
Yeah.
ownership.
Just a good
Jocko
book.
Willick. So clearly it's my fault. So it's all good. Whatever. All right. So the question was, daggone it. What was my question? Oh,
What's your
it was
advice?
yeah. What's your advice? Because we all got something like I used to be, and not thank God, not anymore. When I was younger, I used to be a sneakerhead. That was the until I had kids. Then I became a broke sneakerhead. And I'll never go back to doing that. But what's your advice? Like, what's the one thing you gotta like? I gotta avoid that. Otherwise, I'm going down that road as soon as I get there.
Man, I'm pretty bad with food. I'm a foodie, so
Really?
I'll eat out entirely too much, and I like to, then I'll get fat, and then um, but aside from that,
Mm,
I guess just higher end for hobbies, right? Like, I'll spend more than I need to on gear if I'm into a hobby. And I'm pretty
Uh,
notorious. Like if I got into rock climbing, I'd buy the top of the line harness and shoes. If I got into,
Listen,
and
I don't know. That might be legit. Rock climbing might be a legit reason to buy the top of the line stuff because you get that cheap stuff and it breaks. You're in trouble.
valid, but yeah, but I do it all. I mean, I bought a nicer camera than I needed when I started, and I bought,
Nice.
I mean, a nice mic right off, not right off the bat, but it was like, ooh, how can I buy that nice mic instead of? So that's probably it. Is when I get into a hobby, I'll go a little all out, but could be
Fair
worse.
enough. Fair enough. So, what? Matter of fact, now that you mention it, what is your hobby? What's your hobby now? Because you're always doing content. You're always doing videos. I see you literally everywhere. Well, that's also because I have my reminders set and I'm subscribed. Oh, like you who listening, you should subscribe too. Oh, you too who's watching, you should also
Hey.
subscribe. But what's
There
your
you
like?
go.
What's your hobby? What do you do when you're not on camera and you're just hanging out, relaxing with the family?
Does it count to say that that probably is my hobby?
No, no, that
I
counts.
I
One hundred
spend
percent counts.
Yeah, I spend enough time in it that I actually have been kind of questioning that lately. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I've been debating, I'm not going to buy one just yet, but I'm like, man, maybe I should buy another motorcycle or I need to get into something. I don't have enough adrenaline in my life. Like the Marine Corps, we're not at war, so there's not
That's
anything
true.
super exciting going on, right? I'm a desk
Yep.
jockey right now. I've been thinking for a while now, like, man, I need to just like rent a jet ski and go tear it up on the water, rent a four wheeler, rent a dirt bike, rent a snowmobile, go skydiving, like something like that.
Right.
And I'm almost scared to get into it because I'm like, man, if I, you know, go rent a jet ski and I love it and it's like exactly what I needed, then I might go buy a jet ski and spend way too much time out,
Oh
ripping through the
boy.
waves or whatever. So I'm
Right.
like,
Right.
I need that adrenaline, but I'm still kind of in hustle mode. So I'm kind of holding myself back a little bit. So I might go rent a snowmobile here in a week or two and go horse around in the snow. But uh, I've actually been kind of at a point right now where I'm like, I need a good hobby other than just the content side because that's basically it right now.
Listen, I tell you what, you could always. I hear the big thing right now is chasing down Pokemon cards and selling them for a
Yeah.
huge profit. It's it's gotten nuts. Yeah, see, I love it. I absolutely love it. That was awesome.
I've got, yeah, may or may not have bought some. Oh, son of, oh, I thought I
Oh
froze
yeah, you're
again.
here. You're here. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good.
Woo!
No man, yeah, it's that's I used to my advice when I was younger was to do cards and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get some more cards again. So I started collecting soccer cards and now I've actually got some of the old newer Pokemon cards, but I'm like I realize it's one of them things. I think my advice is it's like flashes, right? It'll be flashes. I think let me try this. And it doesn't work, or I just kind of like, meh, nah, I shouldn't have done that. But, I guess it is what it is. All right, so let's go back to questions. So, next question. All right, with you go all the way all over the place. You've spoken at I'm sure more than one event. You've talked to a bunch of people all the time. What's the most common question that you get?
Uh, I guess it kind of depends on the audience, but one of the more common questions is just how the hell do I
Get
get
started.
everything done?
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
And the answer to that is twofold, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
time blocking. So scheduling out, like if I'm going to film a video, I'm going to film 4 or 5 or 6 videos at once, and so that's the batching side. So I'll batch things together, and then time
Yep.
blocking. So I'll be like, okay, I'm going to do 3 hours of or 2 hours of videos, and I'll do 6 videos like this weekend, right? Like I've been writing articles here and there throughout the week.
Now he froze. If you're watching, I might just leave this in.
I'm gonna just pick up where I left off. So at some
Fair
point
enough. I like it. Let's go.
weekend, like I'll sit down and I'll take the 4, 5, 6 articles. So some of them are articles that I'll put on the
Mm-hmm.
teleprompter, and some of them are just like bulletized lists with talking points, like 7 tips to boost your credit score, right? And I'm just gonna
Right.
have the 7 bullets and just talk to them. And so I've got like 6, 7, 8, 9, I don't know, maybe even 10. I've been fairly productive this week, like 10 different ideas to do videos on, and I will sit down for like 3 hours and just be like video, 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 and then
That's
boom, and then like 2 or 3 days later, I'll be like edit, 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 and then the next day I'll upload, 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 whatever. And so it'll be like almost like an assembly line. Like this day I film, this day I edit, this day I
right.
do thumbnails, this day I
Right.
upload, and then I'm good for like, okay, I just did 3 or 4 weeks worth of content in like 3 days, 4 days. On the video side, right? And so,
Yeah.
and then like podcasts, I do 2 podcasts every Wednesday night, assuming I'm able to schedule, it fits people's schedules. But like I did 2 last night, I'll do 2 next week. And so they're just back to back. And that's just, it's like, okay, I block this time out. That's the only thing I do, and then batch it. That's otherwise I'm
I
never going to get
I'm
done.
gonna tell you, I love batching. It's don't get me wrong, it sometimes feel like a pain in the butt, but when you wake up that day and you're like, all right, cool, I gotta do this done, this done, this done, and you forget that you didn't record something, you're like, oh, I'm good. I already recorded 4 weeks out, right? Because I'm actually in the
Yep.
process right now. I'm rehashing the whole IG. I shut down IG for like 4 or 5 days to re up everything and have at least a month out. So every month
Yeah,
I'll already have my content laid out and I'm good to go for at least a month, and I can just relax and
I
chill
like it.
with everything else. So yeah, I love that. So all right, so in that same vein, what's the question you got asked? What's the question that you wished you were asked more often?
Ooh.
Took me a while to come up with this question.
It's going to take me a while to come up with an answer. That's a really good question. Can I freeze for a minute just so
Huh?
that, I have a,
I
no,
mean,
just
yeah,
kidding.
don't say that because it might just it
um,
might just happen.
that's a, that's a,
It's a whopper.
yeah. Cause the question people ask, right, is like, how can I add value to you? Which actually gets kind of old. Because it's like, I don't like, you want me to think of ways that I need your help. Like, it's very good intention, but it's a very difficult question to answer because it's like, well, I don't know what your skill set is.
Yeah,
Um,
I feel like that's kind of that and can I pick your brain are the two go tos
don't,
that I hear.
don't,
Yeah, I hear people say don't say that like ever. So like
yep,
I normally say, hey, how can I earn 5 to 10 minutes of your time, right? Because
yep.
the idea is just like you said, value. But if I'm paying attention to your content as well, I already know what you might need help with. That's a pro tip for anybody who's listening.
I think I'm going to make this a vague answer, but I think it's
Okay.
going to help people out. And that's, ask me a pointed question. Don't
Mm-hmm.
ask me a question that you can type into Google and get the answer. Don't ask me a question where the answer is, if you had looked at my website, you'd have the answer. Don't ask me a question where the answer is, anybody and their mother could find that answer in 10 seconds, right? Like if you're jumping on an intro call to me, nothing bugs me more than the pick your brain thing. Not because I don't want to share what's in my brain, but because like, are you cool with swearing? Should the inner Marine come
Yeah,
out or
yeah,
should I
that's
keep
fine.
it
Yeah,
mellow?
no,
All
you're
right.
good. Go for it.
Okay. So because I want to be like, bitch, I didn't spend 3 years of my life recording every thought I've had for you to
Right.
ask me about it.
Right.
Like I literally come up with content because like if you ask me about refinancing, if I get asked about refinancing 3 times in a week, I'm like, okay, I'm making a video about refi because that's what
Right.
people need to know. So
Right.
it so I think the answer is ask a pointed question. Ask a question that shows you've done a little homework or taken time to watch something. And I'm not saying you have to, I'm not being the ego here that says like you need to go watch 10 hours of my content before you talk to me. But instead of saying, hey, I'm thinking about getting into real estate. Could you give me some advice? Right. Because initially my answer is going to be like, if you clicked on my website, there is a tab on the menu that says start here with a list of articles and videos.
Yep. It has everything.
you
Yep.
know so instead maybe you should say, hey, I read your article on this. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this strategy, or I had a question about this piece, or I didn't understand this. And then it's like, oh, hey, this person took the time to look at or at least try to get the answer, or it's a very specific question, like a spin-off, like there was some thought behind it. So I guess that's a really long answer and a very vague answer, but I think the question is right. Like if I was going to go ask Brandon Turner or someone who was very successful for advice, it wouldn't be like, oh, thank God I finally got 20 minutes with Brandon Turner.
Right. Now you froze, David. What is happening? Why is this happening? Bro, like
Like
I'm perplexed. I really want to know why this is happening. Like I got to go and do some heavy research now. I got to
it
figure out what's
doesn't
going on here.
at all. But yeah, it's like, okay, let's say I got, we'll use freaking Donald Trump. Although he's so polarizing, somebody's going to hate that I'm using him as an example. But whether you
Right.
love or hate the guy politically, he made billions in real estate, so deal with it.
That's a
So if
fact.
I got to sit down with Donald Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sit down with Donald Trump and then go, hey man, or hey, whatever the official title is for former
Yeah, I don't know.
president.
I don't know how we go on that one. Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Armory. But anyway, um, like, hey, uh, I'm thinking about real estate. What do you think I should know? Right? Like, you kidding me? That's the question you're going to ask? Like, the
Right.
question I would ask is like, hey, I've got a 10 unit that is doing this, 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 and this, and I'm really stuck on narrowing down on this one issue I've got. Have you ever run into this? And what would you do? Like something very specific that's like, oh, hey, or like I got the chance to ask, I blew it. I had a chance to ask President Obama a question when I was younger because he was working out in the gym next to me. And I was just like, it was like I asked this stupid, super vague, I was nervous question. And I could have asked him, what are your top 3 leadership books?
Right.
Right. What are the 3 books that you think everyone should read? And I missed the chance, right? Like those are the things that you should ask somebody if you get like a moment to pick their brain. Like if you really want to know something, like a specific question, not just like. So anyway, so I guess that's the longest way I could have answered that. But the question I wish I got asked more was the question that has some thought behind it.
No, I think that's I don't. Yeah, it might have had to be a long answer, but it takes a lot to kind of get that out because that's something that I find important. Like when I first started just doing real estate in general, I would constantly have these questions, and I'm like, I can Google that. I Google it. I can Google that. I Google it. But then when I did a flip, I was like, okay, so this is what sequencing is. Wait, how do I improve the sequence for what I'm already working on? That's not in the program. That's not in the guide online. So you want to ask somebody that question. So I mean, I think what you're saying is absolutely right. You need to do the research, ask yourself the question, see if you can find the answer. Then if you can't find the answer, that might make it a valid question to ask. Particularly when in those instances you have like that microcosm you had sitting down next to, Grant Cardone. And there's so many times you're gonna run into Grant Cardone in the street. So you gotta come with the heat.
Exactly. Ask something that would actually change your life if they answer. It's just, I mean, it's the difference between when you're looking into how to flip a house, right? You can like
Right.
the question, can you use a HELOC to flip a house? Yeah, of course you can, right? Like
Absolutely.
answer. But when you get to where you're actually getting ready to flip the house, right? Like, is the HELOC the best strategy for me based on this, this, and this, right? Like, that's not something Google is going to be like, oh, yeah, here, let me calculate the perfect strategy for you. But somebody who's flipped homes is going to be like, well, here's the pros, cons, here's how I would do it. And then you're like,
Right.
oh, like that's much more specific, much more situational, and much more tailored to you. That's going to be way more beneficial for you.
Exactly. Exactly. So
Like,
you mentioned you were in the gym with President Obama. What and how? How did that? What happened there?
so the last time I was in Washington D.C., I just called an Uber and was like, "Yo, can I go to the gym at the White House?" And um, no. So when I was in Hawaii,
Oh, I was
uh,
about to say, wait, is that real? You just roll up to the White House, head to the gym?
you got a military leader, cool. Like, just come on in. But, so in Hawaii, he used to visit all the time, and if you were in the gym, right, they would like shut the gym down.
Right.
So there was one day I was in there, I was working out. I just started my workout, and it's actually kind of funny. So Secret Service came in, they cleared everybody out of the gym, and they did their thing. They spent like 20 minutes. We all stand out of the parking lot, like pissed off, like, oh, typical military. It's like, oh, son of a gun. Like I was in the middle, I
Right.
warmed up. Now I gotta stand out here in the cold. Not really
I
cold,
was mid set.
yeah, I'm cooling down. Stupid, they got the German shepherds going through the. I mean, they cleared the whole building out, right? It's
Right.
actually really funny. You go back in, all of a sudden, like the newspaper stand had like President like Obama's face on like magazines. Like they had placed like magazines with his face on it, and like, stuff hanging up that hadn't been there. And I don't know if it's like he wants to see his face. I don't think that's it. Well, let's just make this place look patriotic for like he lives in his little bubble where everything's like pro Obama, or I don't, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So then they let us go back in the gym. What I didn't know is once he shows up, you can't leave. Like someone had texted about him being there at one point, like the day or two before, so he got like swarmed. So they were like, "Yeah, sorry, no, like don't pull your phone out. We don't want to see pictures. Like we don't want to see you taking. Like just leave your phone in your pocket, or we're gonna take it from you, and you don't get to leave till he's gone because we don't want people swarming here, whatever." So like this guy shows up, treadmill. I
David, you froze. Not the Obama story. Bro, in the middle of the Obama story. How dare you?
so the guy shows up. He's on the treadmill. I'm like 2 treadmills over, just like jogging, and I'm like jogging, jogging, jogging. He shows up and he just like jumps on this treadmill, like 2 treadmills over from me, and I'm like,
Mm.
oh. And then yeah, so I mean, he was actually really cool. Like he made it a point to say hi to everyone who walked by. But it was very weird because Here's this man who, and he played basketball. Like, so there were people playing basketball with him. Like, it was fairly cool. He was pretty cool in his little workouts, but it was weird because you see President Obama as like this powerful man in a suit, right, making world
Right.
decisions. But when you see President Obama at the gym, it's like this old grandpa figure in sweats. It's just a totally different environment, right? Like, he was just a
Right.
normal human being. But yeah, he talked to me for like a moment. It was very quick, very polite, very sincere. Hey, how you doing? Shook my hand, whatever. Enjoyed the workout and kind of wandered off. And I froze. I was even thinking about asking the question. I just, you know, get a little nervous, I guess, but I really wish I'd asked him. I'm sure I could find that information online if I worked hard enough to see kind of what he's recommended, but it would have been cool for me. I would have loved to have either asked him like top leadership book or like what's the number one thing you've learned being president of the United States. Like, I can imagine you probably learned some cool stuff. But yeah, I mean, I got stuck next, and that was not the only time that I was in the gym when he happened to be there. But yeah, it was an interesting experience. It was actually really funny because they tell you not to put your phone out or they're going to confiscate it. And so I was like 45 minutes UA late to work. Couldn't tell my command that I was not, like, I'm sorry, I'm literally stuck in the gym next to the president of the United States, and
Right.
service isn't letting me leave. So
Oh
yeah.
no. Well, so what's crazy is what if he had like that Mamba mentality like Kobe Bryant? You know how they got stories of Kobe Bryant. He goes in the gym, he wait till somebody else come, and he won't leave. Like y'all have been in there forever.
Oh, yeah, thank God, no, but he was out there on vacation too, when usually when
That's
he was
true.
out. So
Right. That's fact. Yeah. He's always gonna be relaxed. All right.
he was.
So going to going to your just back to real estate and kind of you in business because you're in so much now, and one thing that I kind of struggle with is figuring out that balance right with the family and what I'm doing because I know you as you you're an investor not just in flips, you invest in multifamilies, you are a podcaster, you got like you said your content schedule and all the other stuff. How what's always interested me is how has your relationship with uh, your wife's name is Kimberly, right?
Yep.
Okay. How has the relationship with Kimberly grown in the space? Like, how has she changed as you're changing? Does that make sense?
Yeah, my answer's not going to be nearly as exciting as anyone else's would be. Uh,
I don't
it,
think anybody.
it,
I haven't asked anybody this. Your
okay,
bio was so detailed. I was like, oh, now I gotta ask. I gotta ask.
if anything, it's gone downhill. And not because of that, but because I've been geo-bacheloring now for like a year
Right.
and a half. So
Okay.
when I moved out here from Hawaii, we were struggling to find a good job out here because California, even though she has 11 years experience as a high school counselor and a master's degree, California had some weird, typical California, other weird things going on. So she couldn't get a job that she wanted to out here very easily. And at the same time, her old job in Missouri opened up and was like, "Yo, we got a spot for you. If you take it now,
Okay.
awesome. If not, like, we can't guarantee you that this counselor who takes this job
Still be
will
there.
still
Right.
leave in 2 years, right?" So, and that's where she wanted to work long term. That's what she loves. So I was pretty certain that I was going to be getting out or going to reserve. So I was like, "Hey, like, the kids like Missouri, you like Missouri, everyone loves Missouri. We're going back there. Take the job. This will suck, but it'll be just like a deployment. It's way worse than a deployment. Holy crap. Being deployed and away from your family is like, I'm with the guys, beating my chest and, blowing up bad guys or getting blown up, whatever.
Right.
Um, Being alone in a big freaking empty house that should have a family and it's not cool. Um,
Yeah.
so it's actually been really, really rough. Probably one of my bigger regrets over the last year and a half. I mean, it's been great. Like, I've had a ton of time to hustle mornings, nights, weekends, like hustle, hustle, grind, grind. It's been great
Right.
as far as the outcome, but the relationship side has struggled for sure. So, um, she's not much for the like goal setting. She's not much for the reading of books. I think like 5 or 6 other people now have finished the Rich Dad Poor Dad book that I bought her, and she hasn't yet.
Right.
Um, but she is, it's kind of like I think David Osborne once said it to me, like talking, and he was talking to our mastermind.
Froze. Oh, that was such a good moment. So good. Okay, so you were at you. This is so funny. It's so bad. We just gotten used to it. We're just like, ah, we
Yeah,
just
it's like,
roll
all
with
right,
it. We turn it into a
restart.
thing.
Did I mention David Osborne yet? Was I
Yeah.
starting
So
down that
David,
route?
that's the
Okay.
gentleman from Tribe of Millionaires, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
he came and
I'm in
spoke
that. I'm actually in
to.
that program. Oddly enough, I'm
Oh,
in the Emerge Ascend program, working through getting to the Go
nice.
Abundance level. Yeah, but that.
Yeah, I like David a
Anyway,
lot.
yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. But go ahead, continue, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, huge fan. So he came and spoke to our mastermind group, and one of the things he said was like someone asked him kind of a similar question, and he
Mm-hmm.
was basically like, "Well, I just kind of got to a point with my wife where I was like, look, you don't have to support me, like support me, but like you don't have to want to be a part of it. You don't have to help me. You don't have to set goals with me. You don't have to do anything. Just don't stop me. Just don't try to stop me. Just let me do my thing." And so my wife is excruciatingly and this is probably a bad way to word that, extremely supportive. And so I know when I go back and when I was in Hawaii, like she keeps a great house. She's not much of a cook, but she keeps a very clean house, and she is an incredible mother, and she's great with her job, and she's stable and stability, and she's the frugal one, and she balances me out in so many ways. Um, and she's basically, I think that's going to be kind of our role, right? Where it's like, as long as I'm not doing anything foolish, she's going to let me have free reign, and she'll be super supportive in the background. I might be able to convince her, like we do some goal setting stuff, but nothing crazy. So I guess that's the long answer. And then I think as that transpires, her role, she likes designing and stuff, so she'll probably come in and tag along on the business more as boots on the ground when we start doing some flips where she's like the designer behind what the house is going to look
Nice,
like,
right?
or
Yeah.
because she enjoys that. So it's like, hey, you enjoy this part, do this part, and then I'll do all the stuff that you don't enjoy, and neither do I. So I'll outsource it. But
No, that's I mean that's good, bro. Because that's I've got the same thing. Like I'm with my wife now. We're talking about the whole because the next move could very well be one of the very last ones we're making. Because I'm getting to the tail end
hey,
of the career, so
there you
it's a
go.
different thought process. And she's like, I don't want to be without you. And I'm like, I know, but if we're I'm not gonna say separate. If I'm Geo-Bacheloring, then the amount of stuff I can get done is out nuts. But just like you said, the
Yep.
fear, and not the fear, but the discomfort is it becomes another fight. We gotta another obstacle in our
Yeah,
relationship we gotta get over.
emotionally on the relationship level, I will never, ever, ever recommend that to
Right.
anybody ever.
Okay.
Now, on the logical side, right? Like if you know that emotionally you guys can survive that, right? And
Right.
I'm, not here to judge anyone's relationship, but you usually have a pretty good handle on things like that. Um, yeah, you can get so much stuff done. I mean, I'm able to work from 4 to 6:30, and then work from, I got home. We started recording this at 5, and I'll probably
Right.
hustle away till 8:30 or 9, go to sleep, wake up at 4, and
Do it again.
and then this weekend, right? I'm gonna do easily 2 or 3 hours of videos, easily 2 or 3 hours of content upload, easily 2 or 3 hours of editing, and easily probably 4, 5, 6 hours of. Right now, I'm building out my CRM and email series, so
Oh,
it's not
nice.
something I'm an expert at, but I'm gonna put some time in on that just because I think that I can put it all together and then have someone come in and refine it for me much better than I can say, hey, this is what I'm thinking, and
Right.
have someone run with it. So I will probably put in, I mean, I would say at least 10 hours this weekend, if not closer to 16 and 20 hours this weekend on the, side hustle, which I would never be able to do if the family was here because, I love them, but kids, don't allow for weekends, which is fine. When I go home, I don't plan on doing that on weekends.
Right.
So it's been good in that sense. It's allowed me to get set up to where I know that I'll be okay to take weekends off when I go home.
Yeah, and flying from the island is tough. Because I lived there before too, and my God, when I saw that ticket to go to the East Coast, nah, man, we stuck here for 3 years straight. I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
good gracious. So that makes perfect sense, man. That makes perfect sense. I don't know what else to ask, man. I've got nothing else. I went through all my questions between the first time and this
I
time.
mean, at this point, you've got like a solid hour and a half worth of content if you figure out the blips. And I hope you should definitely put some of those like freeze frame bloopers in there.
Yeah, yeah. The bloopers.
That's funny.
I'm really thinking I'm gonna call my buddy when he does the edit. I'm like, listen, I need you to leave some of those bloopers
Yeah,
in, bro. Leave a few of them.
just like just like the last like 2 minutes of your podcast is just that little like the
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 blooper
editing
reel.
lines with the
Yep.
like beep, and it's just like beep, and then it's me going. in just freezing and you being like, because it's still recording your end, right? So
Yes,
that'd be hilarious.
I'm talking the
So it'll be
whole
like
time.
every time it'll be like me frozen and then you going, oh shit, he's frozen again. And then me frozen and
Yeah. Oh, like that. Oh my god. What kind of timing was that?
you better make it in there too. Holy yeah, maybe we
Oh,
should call it. I mean, I don't know if you got nothing else, man. I mean, this has been, despite the millions of edits, I've had a lot of fun. This has been a good conversation, and you got
yeah,
some
man.
really good questions, so I really appreciate that. What can I? I'm going to ask you a question that I absolutely hate when people
Sure,
ask me.
sure.
But how can I add value to you?
Relationship.
I don't
That's
actually hate how people when people ask that, but I always feel like I don't
yeah.
know,
It's because
because it's
I think
like
the
you
problem
don't
is
know
because
what.
so many people, right? And so many people ask you, like it becomes cringy, right?
Well,
And
it's like
it's
okay, like here's the thing. Right now, if someone was like, "How can I add value to you?" and I was to give like the number one thing that came off the top of my head, it would be like, edit all the emails that I just created for my CRM and upload them into Nutshell so that they flow through my lead chart. Who the
what?
fuck is gonna know how to
What?
do that, right? Like, I don't know what kind of skill set anyone's got, and I'm not gonna give someone like a 5-hour job like that and be like, here, just put my entire business together. Good luck.
Right, right.
So it's like,
You
eh.
asked. I mean, they
So
asked. You're
yeah,
asking. I'm
It's
telling
like,
you.
here you go, dude. Yeah, no. All right, sorry. So you said
No, no,
relationship.
no. Yeah, man. Relationship. Like I am working very diligently to surround myself with people who are on a higher level than me,
Yeah,
but are at the level where I'd like to get to. So, just being able to call you and say, hey, David, what's up? And we just chop it up. And we ain't even got to talk real estate, nothing. Just talking. Because
yeah.
that puts me in the right mindset, the right stratosphere. And then when I'm calling you like, D, man, this today was nuts. And you're like, shut up. Get back to it. I'm like, all right, cool. Got it. Right.
I will say I'm actually like notoriously bad for answering any phone call that wasn't scheduled.
Mm.
But yeah, I'll give you my number. We text, find time to
No,
talk. Yeah,
that'd be
all
awesome.
for it.
I'll text you first because you're on the island
In
too.
fact,
So like,
I'm actually about to get to the point where I'm going to my goal for February
mm,
is to, well, it's not my goal. I just got my edit back on my books. I'm about to audiobook it up.
okay,
So I have like 20 hours of audiobook probably to record. I got to do everything twice and then take whichever's the best hit and whatever.
right.
So I'm literally about to go onto my Calendly and block the entire month out. And then I told my roommate, I was like, hey, here's my thing this month. I was like, every single request for my time for the month of February, the answer is no. I don't care what it is. Like,
Wow.
nope, 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 nope. Sorry. Sorry, I'd love to, but I'm working on this. Sorry, I'd love to, but I'm working on my audiobook.
Right.
Sorry, I'm love to, but I was like, I'm never gonna get it done if I don't. And God, I need a break because I'm like we kind of joked about earlier, but I do a 15-minute intro call.
Right.
Like every morning on my way to work, and like 40% of them don't call me, so then I'm pissed off because I'm like, I scheduled this call with you and I timed my day around it. You didn't show up, and then like the rest of them, it's like maybe 1 out of 10 is, or 2 out of 10, or 3 out of 10 are like really valuable phone calls.
Right.
But the vast majority are just kind of that like,
Blah.
man, I wish you'd thought through some of these questions.
Man, I don't.
So anyway, so I say all that to say, if when I give you my number, if you call me randomly, I might be like,
No,
but
man. Like
but I'll
I'll
absolutely get
probably
back to you.
like. No, don't sweat it whatsoever. Because like my biggest
You're gonna be like,
policy
this guy's an
is
asshole.
nah, hell no. I'll text you. Like I'll always text you. Like I'll text first and
I
be
know
like,
you
yo,
don't. I
when
wouldn't
you
give you
on
my
Q
number
and
if I was worried about that.
A. That's
I'm
fair.
I'm getting much better at so I've got a friend and absolutely no names mentioned here. He's an incredible dude. Like I love this guy. I hang out with
Mm-hmm.
him whenever I'm in town, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Uh,
let me stop this recording. So none of this. Sorry, y'all. I'm cutting this short. See y'all later.